It's the Amoeba People. It's the Amoeba People. The Amoeba People.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Amoeba People Podcast, the show where science and music collide. My name is Ray Hedgepeth, the singer-guitarist of the untouchably nerdy science rock band, the Amoeba People. And yes, the use of that word untouchably was highly intentional for today's episode, because the magical instrument known as the Theremin is featured prominently in today's show. The Theremin, for those of you who don't know, is an electronic instrument that's played without ever actually touching the instrument itself. Not only is the Theremin featured in our audio cartoon, but we also have some bonus content for you guys today after the audio cartoon. My interview with world-class Thereminist Dorit Chrysler. I interviewed Dorit for our radio show back in the summer of 2020 for an episode celebrating 100 years of the Theremin, and now I am thrilled to be able to share that interview with you guys here on the podcast as well. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. It is time for episode 6 in the continuing saga of the Amoeba People Audio Cartoon.
For decades, humans have transmitted radio wave signals deep into space. Little did they know advanced amoebic life forms on the planet Crouton received these transmissions with great wonder and curiosity. The Croutonian Council voted to send their musical ambassadors on an expedition to this distant world to investigate. These are the scientific and musical adventures of the Amoeba People.
Episode 6, Interstellar Engagements.
In our last thrilling episode, the Amoeba People rendezvoused with the scientists of the M51 Records Laboratory after rescuing their camper-like spacecraft, the Improbable, from the diabolical clutches of Elon Musk and his SpaceX facility. Once back at the M51 Records Laboratory, the Meebs were treated to a musical history of science on planet Earth from Dr. Norbert Forrester Hindemith, founder of the lab and occasional song and dance man. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to the Meebs, General Gobsplotch, a powerful military commander from the Meebs' home planet Crouton, had arrived on Earth in his tiny prototype ship, the Even Less Likely. General Gobsplotch had become convinced that the humans of Earth had taken the Amoeba People captive and that it was his job to rescue the Meebs and defeat the evil humans. His undersized spacecraft landed near a cave in Griffith Park in the city of Los Angeles. Elon Musk has just dispatched his goons to retrieve the alien spacecraft.
Approaching target location, Mr. Musk.
Perfect. Now remember what I told you about how to handle any, sort of interference. No witnesses. You brought shovels, didn't you?
That's a big 10-4, Mr. Musk. We won't leave any loose ends.
Inside his newfound lair, General Gobsplotch is in the process of camouflaging his small spacecraft in a dark corner of the cave with the help of his obsequious Meebling lackey.
Meebling! Go and fetch some more fallen branches from outside the cave. Be careful and make certain that you're not seen.
Yes, Master General Gobsplotch, sir. Sorry, sir, but there appears to be a group of large alien creatures approaching, sir.
I told you to be careful, you fool!
Freeze!
Don't move! What the? Mr. Musk, are you seeing this?
Unit 7, what are those things? How many of them are there?
I only see 2 of them so far, Mr. Musk. One of them looks as if he's trying to communicate with us. Want me to blast him?
Stand down, Unit 7, and leave this channel open. I want to hear what it has to say.
Greetings, humans. I am, Ambassador Gobsplotch. I've been sent to your world on a peaceful amoebitarian rescue mission to aid my compatriots who may be in need of assistance.
Pardon, did you say amoebitarian? As in amoeba people?
Exactly. The Amoeba People were sent here on a fact-finding mission, but seem to have run into some trouble along the way. Do you know of their whereabouts?
I'm afraid not, Ambassador. I too am interested in, sort of helping these amoeba people. Forgive me. My name is Elon Musk. I'm sort of an engineer, a tech entrepreneur, a brilliant inventor, sort of pop culture icon, selfless philanthropist, that sort of thing. So my sources have informed me that your friends may have encountered some, sort of trouble upon arrival here on Earth. Quite a shame, really. One of my very top priorities is the general promotion of goodwill. So naturally, upon learning that we've received, sort of visitors from another world, I find myself compelled to locate and assist you. Speaking of which, I monitored the arrival of your ship to this location, and, by the looks of it, this, sort of filthy cave is no place to stow an interstellar spacecraft. My men will be relocating your vessel to my own facility, where, don't worry, it will receive the best of care.
That won't be necessary.
Oh, I'm afraid I insist, Ambassador.
I suppose that'll be fine.
In fact, it would be my pleasure to welcome you as my guest during your stay here on Earth. Unit 7, please bring our new guest back to me immediately. Now be careful with that ship, and you don't sort of leave anything behind.
You got it, Mr. Musk. Over and out.
Back at the M51 Records laboratory, the Amoeba People are running a series of diagnostic tests on their newly self-repaired ship, the Improbable.
Communication systems are back to 100%, and it looks like there's a bit of a backlog of transmissions coming from Crouton. Dr. Beeple's been sending us some schematics for the onboard 3D printer.
Propulsion systems check out, although there's an unexpected anomaly within the hyperbole drive core. It looks like a small section may have been removed while the ship was being held at SpaceX.
That could be a problem when it's time to return home to Crouton. Which reminds me, we haven't sent anything back to the Croutonian Council since we've arrived here on Earth. Let's take care of that right away.
Great idea, sir. Perhaps we should include that song we worked out earlier.
As the Amoeba People record their message for the Croutonian Council, Beckford is performing routine maintenance on some of M51's extensive astronomy equipment collection.
Oh, hey! A message from Werner Herzog! Sir, I just got a message from Werner Herzog!
Oh, we should let the Amoeba People know. They've been working on their ship all night and could probably use a bit of distraction.
Hey guys! I hope we aren't interrupting anything. I just received a message from Werner Herzog, and we thought we should all listen to it together.
First unheard message.
Hello, Beckford. This is legendary filmmaker Werner Herzog with an urgent message for the Amoeba People. As you know, I have in my possession the marvelous golden record from Voyager 2. Since we parted ways, I have spent many hours in solitude, pondering the beauty and strange energy of this fantastic golden disc. At some point during the second day of my meditations, my mind was drawn to a memory of Nepal in 1977. I traveled there to explore the indifferent brutality of Mount Everest and the series of foolhardy men who succumbed to its pitiless natural forces year after year. You know, man versus nature, it's sort of a theme that runs through a lot of my work. Anyway, while researching, I overheard some Sherpas privately discussing something they called the Oracle of the Theremin. After surprising them with my fluent Sherpan, the men divulged the secret location of the Oracle, a cavern near the summit of the sacred Mount Machaputre. The next day I set out for this cavern, but was promptly detained and deported by Nepalese authorities due to a dispute over filming permits. This unfinished business has tormented me for over 4 decades, and for some reason, my instincts tell me that I must now return to Nepal with the golden record, and also with you, Amoeba People. My instincts are never wrong, and so it shall be. Meet me here in Nepal right away.
End of messages.
Mr. Mosley, you're an expert on Croutonian folklore. Am I mistaken? Or is there also a Theraminic oracle fabled to exist back on Crouton somewhere in the Parmesian hinterlands?
Rumored to be distinct in its aroma, Mr. Hedgepeth. It was discovered nearly a century ago, strangely coinciding with the invention of the electronic contactless musical instrument, the Theremin.
Sir, if I'm not mistaken, the Theremin was also invented here on Earth about 100 years ago, too.
Your retention of boutique electronic musical instrument history never disappoints, Beckford. You are absolutely correct. How serendipitous that our two worlds conceived of this peculiar and fascinating instrument at the same time, 27 light years apart.
An intriguing coincidence. Perhaps we can learn more from the oracle Mr. Herzog mentioned. It's a relatively short flight from here to Nepal in the improbable.
I think your ship should stay grounded for the time being. Any launch would undoubtedly be detected by Musk and his goons. I have a feeling he's anxious to get reacquainted with the improbable.
One of the schematics Dr. Beeple sent over is for a teleportapody, which can apparently transport us anywhere on this planet at the speed of light.
How convenient.
I'll print that up right away so that we can rendezvous with Mr. Herzog.
Mr. Jordan activates the Improbable's 3D printing and equipment assembly module, and after a few minutes, a blue plastic booth emerges via a conveyor belt.
Doesn't the Improbable already have an onboard restroom?
But it's so much more than a portable lavatory, Beckford. The engineers at Crouton's Absurditudinal Technology Labs took great care when designing this mission's suite of support appliances. Not only can these instruments perform preposterously helpful functions, but they're also designed to appear as common devices to the untrained Earthling's eye. In other words, they're in disguise.
You guys really are full of surprises, you know that?
The instructions say that once we've all climbed inside, the unit is activated by the simultaneous utterance of the mission's rallying cry.
I'm ready when you guys are.
Onward!
The Amoeba People disappear suddenly in a flash, along with their newly constructed teleportapody. Meanwhile, approximately 8,000 miles away, Werner Herzog is finishing a plain breakfast of hardtack and rashers of bacon, alone at his camp near the foot of Nepal's Mount Machaputre.
I see you received my message. It was a smart move bringing your own toilet. Nepalese shrubbery is a far cry from silky Charmin, let me tell you. But enough of that, we must depart at once. The trek to the summit will take several weeks.
We were able to arrive so quickly thanks to our new...
No time to waste. You can fill me in on the details as we ascend the pitiless slopes of Mount Machaputre on foot.
Did you say several weeks?
Possibly months, depending on climbing conditions.
Mr. Herzog, might I suggest that we utilize the Croutonian technology we have brought along with us? We'll arrive at our destination in mere moments.
That would be most efficient.
Werner Herzog and the Meebs reappear at the mouth of a large, dimly lit cavern. The whipping winds of Machaputre churn behind them, assailing the slopes of the sacred mountain with endless, blinding buffets of sleet. By contrast, the cavern before them is warm, calm, and lit from an unseen source with a comforting orange glow. In the center of the circular stone chamber is a large, rectangular stone pedestal inscribed with a variety of strange markings, seemingly dozens of different indecipherable scripts. Resting atop the pedestal is a wooden box from which two antennae extend, one vertical and the other horizontal.
The legends were true. It's just as the Sherpas described.
Hey, that looks just like a vintage Croutonian Theremin. You know, like the original ones that were first produced 100 years ago. I saw one just like that in the Music History Museum over on Endive last year.
Indeed. This does appear much like how one would imagine a Thereminist shrine. What do we do now, Mr. Herzog?
I can't be certain, but I believe we should start with this.
Werner Herzog opens his backpack and carefully removes an object wrapped in cloth. As he approaches the pedestal, the cloth falls away, revealing the Voyager 2 golden record, which he reverentially places in front of the enshrined Theremin. Suddenly, a disembodied visage appears above them, bathing the group in its blue, ethereal glow.
Welcome, travelers. I am the Oracle of the Theremin. I have been expecting your arrival for some time. This place is a sanctuary for those who seek understanding between worlds through exploration and music. You who have entered this hallowed space, bringing with you inquisitive minds, musicality, and a cherished symbol of the spirit of exploration, are now presented with the ultimate reward, the strudel of the Oracle of the Theremin.
A plate containing 4 strudels suddenly appears on the pedestal.
You may now consume the strudel.
Why, thank you. These look delicious.
Yes, quite fantastic. Thank you.
The flavor is transcendent, cosmic.
Does this contain gluten? Because I'm on...
You may now consume the strudel.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Having consumed the strudel, you may now access the corresponding oracle, bridging your two worlds. As you continue your musical and exploratory endeavors, you may return to me for guidance and additional strudel. Farewell, travelers.
The oracle fades away, and an oval-shaped portal appears, through which Herzog and the Meebs see a cavern similar to the one where they now stand. But the unmistakable geographic features of the Parmesian hinterlands of the planet Crouton are visible through the cavern's entrance.
Wow, that's the hinterlands, all right. You can see the Parmesian bramble, clear as day.
The smell would seem to confirm that. I really miss Crouton, gentlemen. I have to admit, the temptation to enter the portal is strong.
Agreed, Mr. Mosley. However, we do have a mission to complete, and we've only just begun. Mr. Herzog, thank you for guiding us to the oracle of the Theremin. This has been a truly remarkable experience. Now, Meebs, we'd better get back to the ship.
Yes, of course. You don't suppose the Oracle will mind if I take the record with me, do you?
27 light-years away at the Croutonian Science Ministry, Dr. Beeple and the Quartermaster are reviewing schematics to be sent at hyperbolic speed to the Amoeba People via cutting-edge hyperbolink technology.
We've called this one the Transmortifier, Doctor. It will enable the Amoeba People to bring dead scientists back to life.
Tremendous, Q. That will be most useful indeed.
One moment, Doctor. It appears as though we're receiving a transmission over the hyperbolink. It's the Amoeba People.
The Amoeba People? They're okay. Fantastic. Let's see it.
Greetings, Dr. Beeple. This is Mr. Hedgepeth of the Amoeba People, captain of the Croutonian fact-finding mission to planet Earth. We have arrived safely on Earth and have found the Earthlings to be agreeable and helpful, for the most part. As previously discussed, we will compose and transmit music throughout the course of our mission, starting with the song you are about to hear, which delineates the Earthlings' cosmology from their perspective. We hope this research will further add to your database of information and our collective Croutonian understanding of planet Earth. Thank you, and you will be hearing from us again very soon.
So you're sitting on your futon and your thoughts turn to cosmology, empowered tiny specks adrift in space. And you realize where you sit is really just the start of it, as your mind begins to wander from this place. For your futon's in a room, and the room is in a house or an apartment on a block in a neighborhood. And whether homely, plain, or pretty, it's in a town or in a city, just like you'd expect a neighborhood would. And at this time I should relate, the city's in a county and the county's in a state, the state's in a country and the country's in a continent, no matter how you scan it. And I'd like to make it clear that the continent's in a hemisphere, which is part of a bigger sphere we call a planet. And you sit there on your futon, and your thoughts turn to cosmology. Planet Earth is in a system which revolves around a star called the Sun, which is 93 million miles away. And the Sun's in the outer arm of a spiral-shaped galaxy of stars, which the ancient Greeks named the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is part of something called the Local Group, which contains our galaxy and roughly 30 more. And the Local Group is part of the Virgo supercluster containing galaxies, nebulae, and quasars. And everywhere in the universe you look, and every cranny and every nook, are superclusters brimming with billions of stars. And you're sitting on your futon, and you're wandering to cosmology. Now here's the trippy part, the part that may just blow your mind, for stars are made of elements, as you may know. And the elements found in stars are in birds and trees and cars, as well as rocks and air and grandma's cookie dough. Yes, the billboards of the sun are everywhere, and everyone, including you and me and your crazy Uncle Leon. They have names that are quite common, like helium, hydrogen, and carbon, and stranger ones like beryllium and neon. But to see the magic of these stars, you needn't travel oh so far, or blast off in your custom-made spaceship. For the elements found in space can even be found inside this place, and in your futon, where you sit there eating corn chips. And you sit there on your futon, and you're concerned to cosmology. And you sit there on your futon, and you wonder, what exactly is a futon? And you sit there on your futon, and you're concerned to cosmology. And you sit there on your futon, and you wonder, what exactly is a futon?
Where will the Meebs' interstellar scientific and musical mission take them next? How will General Gobsplotch fare in the custody of Elon Musk? What on earth is Werner Herzog going to do with the Voyager 2 Golden Record? Find out the answers to some questions, but not necessarily these ones, next time on the Amoeba People Audio Cartoon. And now it's time for our bonus content, my interview with world-class thereminist Dorit Chrysler. And yes, that was Dorit Chrysler's voice you heard playing the part of the Oracle of the Theremin. How awesome of her to do that for us. A huge thank you to Dorit Chrysler. The audio cartoon today was written, produced, and edited by the masterful Ryan Mosley. Story by Ray Hedgepeth and Ryan Mosley. Voices by Ryan Mosley, Dustin Jordan, Ray Hedgepeth, and Dorit Chrysler. All music was written and performed by the Amoeba People. Our guest on today's show, which is our tribute to that magical instrument, the Theremin, which turns 100 this year, is musician, composer, recording artist, producer, and world-renowned thereminist Dorit Chrysler. Dorit has performed all over the world and has collaborated with artists such as The Strokes, Dinosaur Jr., Marilyn Manson, Trentemøller, as well as numerous symphony orchestras, and perhaps most importantly to those of you science geeks like us out there, she's performed on more than one occasion at CERN. If you're not familiar with CERN, that's the European Organization of Nuclear Research. Those are the folks that built the Large Hadron Collider. That's that 17-mile-long giant particle accelerator built underground. And that was the one that, everybody thought was going to open up some portal to another dimension, but really just gave us great scientific data. Well, one portal that was opened up at CERN, I suppose you could say, was the portal between science and music, and Dorit Chrysler has had the privilege of entering that portal. There's a great YouTube video of her performing in front of CERN's synchrocyclotron, which was the first particle accelerator that CERN ever built back in 1957. You got to check out that video. So I asked Dorit, given that the Theremin is such a unique musical beast, what was one of the strangest things that she's encountered in her years performing with the instrument?
One of many unforgettable moments was when I played in Serbia, a small town called Gornji Milanovic. It was on a small square, and I think it's a town that not many people are passing through, and it's a long story why I ended up playing Theremin there. But there was an Orthodox priest and an audience of all ages and ranges. The whole village came out, so most likely none of them have ever seen a Theremin before. And the priest of their community, a big beard and a nice black long dress, he felt compelled to protect his community from the Theremin, and he exclaimed it to be, luckily not me, only the instrument, a work of the devil. And he was pointing the cross while I attempted to play against the instrument in a very dramatic fashion, and I started to get a bit nervous, but it all ended. I'm still sitting here being alive, but so the Theremin can evoke a lot of imagination because of its unusual method of being played. Yeah, it's magic.
Oh my
It can be the work of the devil. Yeah.
That is a fantastic story.
Now, because the theremin is such a unique instrument, I asked Dorit Chrysler how she would describe the instrument to someone who had never seen or heard it before. Her answer was incredible.
The theremin is one of the very first electronic instruments ever in existence, and it was invented by accident by Russian physicist Lev Theremin. And the very unique thing about this instrument is that you play it without touching anything. It's based on a principle called heterodyning, and it really feels like your body is the actual instrument, and the slightest motion of your body is turning into sound. Your body mass interrupts the distance of the frequency in the electromagnetic field, and that produces a sound. It's a really primal effect of motion to sound. And it's a completely different interface in comparison with all the traditional instruments. When I explain the theremin to little children in our teaching programs, I always take them into the imagination of being a jewel thief and picture the big, piece of diamond sitting on the theremin, and then they approach the thing and they enter the invisible electromagnetic field, and suddenly you hear a sound. And Leon Theremin was working on a motion detection alarm system, and that led him to the idea of turning it into a music instrument. It also really lends itself to your imagination because of its unusual interface. It's kind of liberating. So it's so easy to come up with so many ideas of how to approach the theremin when teaching it, especially with children. When you're trying to hit a pitch on the theremin, you can just kind of picture your hand being a bumblebee that's buzzing around in the air. That's the vibrato, and the pitch is a flower that it's so there's an abundance of literal pictures that you can draw with this instrument like with no other.
Next, I asked Dorit about her pathway to the theremin. What was her background in music, and how did that lead her to the instrument that she's now known for and so passionate about?
So I'm originally from Graz, Austria, before I immigrated into the United States. And as a child, I was singing in the opera choir. And so I was exposed to wearing hunchbacks and strange costumes and the whole colorful world of stage settings. And then as a teenager, I rebelled against it. I had a new wave band. And then I turned full circles and started classical studies of musicology in Vienna. And then I moved to New York and started a rock band playing guitar, like you do. And then I encountered the theremin at a friend's house in New York. It was this really unassuming, sad, tiny little box with an antenna. It looked like nothing special, and he plugged in something, and suddenly these strange, unique sounds that I've never heard before, and it was so magical and dramatic, just waving your hands in the air, and the sound somehow seemed to respond.
If you watch someone play the theremin, you'll notice that there are many tiny subtleties in how they get those notes out of the instrument. Some thereminists keep perfectly still, moving just a single finger or two to get a note or an interval. And when you watch Dorit Chrysler perform, she too keeps very still, but then you'll notice that she sometimes moves her entire body, and her hands seem to dance around as they shape each note. So I asked her how she would describe her technique.
I would describe it as literally having no technique. I must admit, this is the big mystery being revealed, and I'm getting a lot of heat from my colleagues for it sometimes. And
really?
Well, also being unleashed upon a lot of students and people that really are excited to try the theremin. And my principle always is, well, it really depends on what is your goal, what do you want to do with these instruments. And secondly, even if you follow, there have been a few techniques developed, finger techniques, all of them kind of help you having some kind of orientation because you're not touching anything that your stretched out hand, for instance, reaches across one octave. So it's more like an orientation. Some people need it more than others, and it really depends if you want to make fast, precise runs or not. I really do embrace the theremin's possibility of a very free and intuitive approach, and really encouraging people to find their own style and not torture themselves too much. If you watch Leon Theremin, the inventor himself, his technique is really the most referential for me because he has this very fluid style and uses the volume curve as much as the pitch, and it's really sculpting every note in the air.
Next, I asked Dorit Chrysler about the New York Theremin Society, which she co-founded. First of all, how awesome is it that there even is such a thing as the New York Theremin Society? But I was very curious about its origins.
Well, I've been living in New York and encountering the theremin and started, it sounded horrible in the beginning. And New York being the city it is, of course, I heard that there were a few people living under rocks and in caves and also working with the theremin, and I was really curious to kind of seek them out. And the big surprise, so I started to track them down. The big surprise was that everyone had such a different approach and such a different style, and the instrument, being this monophonic thing, is actually really versatile, lending itself to a lot of different approaches. So I kind of talked them into all coming together and each of them getting their spot in the sunlight. Some of them were professional performers, some of them have never performed. And for them, it was a really interesting experience to exchange and realizing, there's someone else. At that time, there weren't so many sharing that interest in the instrument. So together with Suzanne Fiol, who was the director of Issue Project Room, she lent the location to do this. And we started to have these concerts of different theremin players. And it was there was such interest from the audience as well as from the players. So the two of us decided to create a public platform to make it even easier for people to find out more about the instruments and exchange and to grow the interest, basically.
Fantastic. And what year did that start?
I think it was in 2007, 2009. It's quite a while ago, and it's just tremendous how much has changed since those years. I mean, back then we filled a silo with 100 people, and that's in a city like New York, where a lot of people know about the theremin, and they're seeking out things to be surprised at. And just in February, one of the last big concerts to celebrate 100 years of theremin, we had an evening with the Ambient Church, and we had over 800 people coming to listen to 3 hours of theremin music, altogether 8 theremin players, and it was completely sold out. And in all my 20 years of playing the theremin, I've never seen a line around the block on a cold winter night to see 3 hours of theremin. So I thought we've really come a long way, and I was very proud.
Okay, as you may or may not know, we put together a playlist for each episode of the Amoeba People Radio Hour. So I wanted to know from Dorit Chrysler who she enjoyed listening to. Which thereminists would she recommend for people to experience?
Well, I really think, luckily these days on YouTube, everything is out there. I think it's really fascinating. I mean, my first encounter with the theremin was, of course, seeing Clara Rockmore play. And she was also the first female electronic music pioneer, the first woman making electronic music. And on top of that, she's hardly surpassed in her specific dramatic theremin playing. So those videos have been, for me, the initiator of taking on the theremin, and I would recommend it for many other people, even though it's then really depressing because you see her play and you're so inspired, and then you sound so terrible for so long, and the neighbors are, hitting the walls with the broomstick. So you have to brace yourself for a long and frustrating journey. So now there are a lot of contemporary colleagues. I really like it when the theremin is taken into new places and when people really find their own style. I like it. I really would like to see the theremin more in popular music. The New York Theremin Society compiled this record here, and there are like 50 different theremin tracks on it from people from 18 countries. So if you listen to that, you can pick your own favorite artist and style, and you will certainly discover one that will be right for you. So I love and like them all, and I'm just so thrilled to have this variety of different people.
Okay, before closing out the interview, I had to know about her CERN performances. How did those come to be, and what was that experience like? I have, I think obviously science and music are closely intertwined, and I'm trying to think how I first started. I was passing through CERN and was invited by one of their engineers who appreciates the theremin, and we shot a video at the by the CERN Music Club, because of course all the brilliant physicists there are also a lot of them play instruments and they have their own band. And then we started collaborating a project called Music and Physics at music festivals, bringing science tents and kind of luring the music audience into science and the work that you do. And obviously the theremin, building theremins and, having theremin workshops where people can play in a 10-piece theremin orchestra together, interact and explore the instruments with its, basic principle of electromagnetic fields turning audible. It made, it's a beautiful bridge from music to science. So we've been really embracing this collaboration. And strangely enough, the last project I did before the close down, I was at CERN at the CMS Collider. This was my fantasy for many, many years. And I wanted to shoot a video there in the Cathedral of Science a la Metropolis, celebrating the birth of electronic music, because, as you know, the theremin is turning 100 this year. So we did shoot. We were the last people given professional access to CERN. It was already all closed down, and we got to shoot at the CMS Collider for 2 days, running around the music video about the theremin, the birth of electric music. So I'm very excited about it. And we were so lucky to just about go down there. And when we were finished and going up, the world as we knew it was gone, and my flight was canceled, and it was a different place. Yeah. Wow, what a surreal experience that must have been. And I should mention that Dorit, at the time of this interview, was still in Europe, in Austria specifically, though it does look like she will be heading home to New York very soon. And by the way, that video that she mentioned, the one shot over 2 days at CERN, that's going to be released in the fall, along with a new album of hers. So my thanks to the wonderful thereminist and theremin ambassador, Dorit Chrysler, for being our guest on this episode, celebrating 100 years of the Theremin. And be sure to check out the New York Theremin Society at their website. They've got a really cool site with tons of information, links, even a feature on how to build your own theremin. Plus, you can check out the album that Dorit and the Society compiled called Theremin 100 in honor of the Theremin's 100-year anniversary. Dorit mentioned it in this interview. It's really terrific. And of course, check out Dorit Chrysler's recordings and her incredible YouTube channel and prepare to be mesmerized. You're listening to the Amoeba People Radio Hour, where science and music collide on Long Beach Public Radio, KLBP FM. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Amoeba People Podcast. Please visit our website, theamoebapeople.com, where you'll find incredible merch, music, and videos, and you can also find a link to our Patreon page if you'd like to support what we do on a monthly basis. Until next time, everyone, onward!
It's the Amoeba People.